Hello and welcome. It's Women's Day. The big question is, women are of course investing in markets. Women are more independent, professional, financially secure. But there's a long distance to travel. There's much to do. And how to do it unless you have the best advice and more importantly, the best inspiration? Well, I have two people with me today, Sonal Tushar Mehta, an independent financial advisor, and Jenny Tejas Shah of Wealth Prime, that's her own firm, who are hopefully going to give me some ideas and give us some ideas about how they've understood finance at the point that they got into it and how they advise other people, including women, and some very, very interesting case studies on their own to actually build their financial future and build a more secure tomorrow. Thank you very much for joining me. So let me start with you, Jenny. So you transitioned into advising people on finance from college.
Yes.
And that happened because you were already exposed to the world of financial markets in your father's firm. So tell us about, even though you were exposed, it's not a guarantee that you must enter this space. So what made you?
So being brought up in a family where finance is discussed at the dinner breakfast tables. So for us, every discussion, family discussion used to be revolving around returns, safety of capital. So it has been ingrained, probably right there in the blood. When I moved into college and I was studying my finance, I was doing my MBA in finance and then got married immediately. I realized a lot of people they do understand finance, talk about finance, but when it comes to managing the money actually, they really lag behind. There's a lot of negligence on everyone's portfolio. So that is where I thought I can add value, and I love talking to people, I love interacting. So I thought that's a beautiful combination where I get to meet people and help them out in a very productive way.
Right. And broadly, and I'm going to come to you in a moment, Sonal, do you feel that in the 15 years that you've been doing this, do you feel that women have traveled in terms of their ability to take their own financial decisions? Do you find them more empowered?
Yes, definitely. A lot. In fact, earlier I used to remember when I myself had got married, we used to never be able to get involved in any decisions regarding expenses on marriage or where to spend the money and how much to spend. Come to today's time, I see young girls getting married and they're planning their own events and their own marriages. And the same is with their financial life. Today, if somebody is working, the first time they get their paycheck is when they call up and ask that I also want to invest. Now what to do with this? So that's a big journey and a big change in mindset itself.
Right. And that will be one of my first questions as to, when we start getting down to brass tacks. So Sonal, you started your practice from being a housewife and then transitioning. So first tell us what got you attracted to this? What were you thinking at that time? What motivated you or inspired you?
Till my marriage, I was working. So as I was working with one financial advisor. So after marriage, I got 2 kids at home doing nothing, and I think I was killing my dignity because I don't like to ask every time to my husband for money. So that is the point when I started doing my own. So I have my friends, family friends, then their friends. So we started like that.
Right. So what was your first step? As in, you decided one day, or was it one day, or did it take several days to?
No, it is a process.
Yeah.
Long process. I think 6 to 1 year ka process.
And when you go to someone and you say that, I know people came to you, but how did they realize that you have this skill of actually advising them on how to manage money?
First I experienced myself. So I used to make budget for my home. So sometime I found that there is no money for investment. But when I started making budgets, so I found out many money lying which I can invest. And sometimes saving your money can't grow. So I started investing my own money. And after a year, I got confidence that I can give advice.
So where were your first investments?
Mutual fund only.
Okay. Okay. No, but that's interesting. So you're saying that women, at least let's say in your case, have an intrinsic ability to manage money and manage budgets, and perhaps that's what they should be using to
pregnancy time when you have no money. So you are stuck somewhere. So I advise my all women clients, plan yourself. Plan your before pregnancy, motherhood, so that you can live your life and you can maintain your standard of living. Either you can upgrade that.
That's very useful. So tell us, you said that the first thing when you started off and people started talking to you, your advice was, how do you start off in life? Yes. And that advice is obviously different from what you're giving people, let's say 15 years later or 20 years later.
Yes.
So tell us about the early days.
So the early days were mostly about people trying to understand what mutual funds are. Honestly, 15 years back, mutual funds were very less known, and they were considered a very complex product, which today we know, being in the industry for 15 years now, I know mutual funds are the most plain vanilla products that I deal with. We do a lot of other exotic products, alternate investments and this and that, but mutual funds are the most simplest, cost effective, and probably the only way to achieve your long-term financial goals. And they have to be a part of your core portfolio. So initially there used to be a lot of trading, huge trading books in my client portfolios. We tried to lessen that out. We were like, trading at the end of the year, if you see the returns, you barely make 15-18%, and you involve yourself so much. Like, daily the broker calls up, you have 3 brokers. For HNIs, they generally have 3 brokers who call them up, and they get advice and tips. So we try to first reduce that. Once that got reduced and they saw that their money is being invested in a place where it is lying and growing on its own and in a beautiful, wonderful number, then why do this buying and selling and trading? And again, for HNIs, taxation is a big thing. So when the returns came to them tax efficiently, that is when they realized that, so that was the way I onboarded them gradually into mutual funds.
And you talked about, how do you split your time, and people spending too much time perhaps when you have trading portfolios, right? As you said, 3 brokers and so on. Women are also in some ways managing dual and triple responsibilities. True. There's home, there's maybe work, there's children. So how do you, is the advice that you give them different from what you would give someone, let's say, who's a male with a singular focus of maybe just earning a monthly income?
Honestly, with every around every woman or male, I would not like to distinguish, but each one has its own story or its own life experiences. Today, if a businessman comes to me, he'll be advised differently, because for him, financial goals are not the priority. Managing his wealth in the best possible, optimal way is his priority. For someone who's working as a salaried professional, maybe a male, maybe a woman, for her or him, the financial goal is important. For example, they want to buy a house 10 years down the line or 5 years down the line. Then the planning will happen accordingly. So each one has a different goal in mind when it comes to their finances. So you have to advise accordingly. So no two people are same.
Right. And how do you advise? Do you see any differences in the way you advise, particularly some of your early clients? And then,
all women, I think they need flexibility, liquidity, and transparency. That's all. If why they are putting their money in savings account or gold, because they want liquidity, they want flexibility, and gold gives them transparency. But if you give them something related like that product which will give more return, they will definitely invest in them. So I'm having many housewives, they are taking the decision. So I think for before decade it is only men's job, but nowadays women are coming out and they are taking responsibilities and they are investing more and more.
Right. But are you able to advise them to go beyond, you mentioned gold for instance, go beyond gold and look at maybe slightly more complex
We are investing
products?
That you should always have asset allocation. You should have short-term goals and long-term goals also. For short-term goals, you should go for liquid funds, and for long-term goals, you should go for equity. But in your portfolio, gold must be there. So for gold, why should buy physically? You can go for gold ETF also, gold saving fund also, which will give you transparency, purity, and liquidity whenever you want to sell.
And you say gold because of the sense of security, or because this is the best way to kind of substitute for the feeling that you should have some gold?
I think women are more possessive about their holdings.
Okay.
So they want gold because they want everything in their control. So if you give something which is in their control, so they will go for gold fund instead of buying physical gold.
Right. I also feel this is a very Indian mindset.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Like Indians hold per capita the highest amount of gold in the world per capita. So this mindset has been running through generations. We've always held gold traditionally as a liquid cash. Earlier, I don't think there were bank FDs also. I'm talking about 30-40 years back. Then came the bank FD. So still gold is something which, in terms of usage also, we have one of the highest usages, consumption in gold in terms of jewelry, and lockers mein pada hi rehta hai. But when it comes to investing, beyond whatever gold that you own, you should try to see that is there enough diversification in your portfolio. Like you love gold, you need gold in your portfolio, fine. How much should that be? 5%, 10%. Beyond that, to grow your wealth, to grow your money or reach a goal, you need other asset classes. Like she said, asset allocation, that is what you need to do.
Right. So if you were talking to a young person and a young lady in this case, and who is maybe beginning a career, what would be your first set of starting points be in terms of? Let me start with you.
First paycheck, she should invest 60 or 70% in investment and in liquid fund also, because that is a contingency money, emergency money. So that is for your short term goals, because if you don't have liquidity fund, emergency fund, you आगे जाके उसको break करना पड़ेगा.
Correct.
Which you don't want. So don't break your long term goals. You should have short term goals, short term money, emergency money that you can use it. So many clients of mine going for abroad, planning their marriages from their own money. So I think this is the dignity which they have.
Right. And is this in some ways, I know it's a tricky question to ask and answer, is it in some ways different for the way you would advise a male of the same age, let's say someone who's 27 or 30, would you advise women and men similarly or differently?
No, there is a difference, because
I know you said flexibility, transparency.
Because women are planning for marriages, then pregnancy, then motherhood. Sometimes they are only for six months, so they are at home, but kharche ka meter chalu. So they need to plan that way. They need emergency money more than a man. So I think a man should have 6 months ka earning, whereas women should have 12 months ka earning.
Okay, that's the first time I've actually heard that. That's a very important and useful point. Do you agree? And
so
how do you see it?
Honestly, for me, whenever I talk to my clients, they're normally business owners. So what we tell them is that financial planning or wealth management doesn't begin when you earn your money. It should begin when your child is growing up. You should instill those values. So the same thing for me, and I have 2 kids. The elder one knows that she has to save money. The elder one knows when she goes out for shopping, she cannot overspend, or she goes to a play area, she cannot spend more than what she's earned. She earns her own salary by doing various tasks. So for me, financial goals and financial
how old
planning,
is she? Just curious.
she's almost 12.
Okay.
Yeah, so she's been earning since the time she was 7 years old. So what I wanted to put into her is the value for money. What happens today, you go for a movie also, spending $1,000 is very normal. But tomorrow if you go out to earn that money, it takes a lot. And honestly, a majority of the population doesn't belong in that category. You have to be grounded. So I normally try to educate the younger generation at least, that start investing when you get your pocket money. Because that 500 rupees, that 1,000 rupees will inculcate such values in you, which you will always cherish in the future. So there are youngsters, and I spoke to a lot of my nieces or the young ones who are like 17, 18. They say a lot of my friends invest. They invest in stocks, they do their own research. I was like, this is beautiful. This is exactly what we want. We need a financial education to start in schools, which is really missing. This is one area which has never been touched upon. But once they learn that, once they come into their working phase in life, the first thing that I would normally advise them to do is buy a term plan, like a simple insurance product, because now they're earning. They need to protect those earnings and the future cash flows. Second is buy simple mutual fund products, diversified mutual funds or whatever, to meet their financial goals. Try to understand what kind of goals they have, and accordingly then come back towards the planning of SIPs or lump sum investments, whatever suits them.
But the point about having a 12-month reserve.
Yeah. So a 12-month contingency reserve is the minimum that I ask for. That when we start investing, the first thing is a contingency fund, second is insurance, and then third we come to mutual fund investments.
I think health plan should also be added.
Yes, definitely. Insurance includes.
Yeah, and you're saying again, this is you would tell women specifically to go for health plans, or in general?
In general.
Okay.
They are having floater plans, so full family.
Right.
Is there.
Right. Okay. So we've talked about maybe younger women, and you're telling them now that listen, it's maybe for men it's 6 months, but for you should be thinking 12 months.
Minimum 12 months.
Yeah, and for these reasons, because there are 2 or 3 points in life where you may go off work, and obviously there will be a break, and you want to be independent at the same time, and also like you said, you could well be the driver of the decision to go for a destination wedding, for instance. So now if as they get older, so let's say we're talking about someone who's 10 years down the line, do things change? Are you advising them differently?
No, I think the best time to investment was 20 years ago, means to plant a tree. Second best time is now. So whether you invested 10 or 15 years ago or not, invest now. You start investment now.
Okay.
So that will grow like anything.
How do you see that?
Yeah, so women later in their life, like earlier how we talked about basic insurance or investment products, but later in life we shift the focus to retirement, to building a safety net. What happens is today everybody, women especially, want to live a life of dignity. You want to be that financial independent when you stop working. For me, it doesn't matter whether the woman is a housewife or she has a career. When you retire, when you stop working at 60 or post 60, you will need some money to continue with the same lifestyle. Where will that money come from? So normally what happens is housewives take a back seat. I don't work, so I don't need a retirement corpus. I said no. For example, you are most probably going to outlive your husband. Statistically, women outlived men in a large number, by a large number of years. How are you going to manage your finances and cash inflows then? Better to start today than at the age of 65, 70 when you have no other support. So this is the age, this is the time when you start thinking about it, thinking in that direction, so that you're not left high and dry at that time, or probably scouting for whereas my husband put all his money, let me get it back, and start looking at it.
Yeah.
It's a very wrong time.
But does that happen? Has it happened with any of your clients or people that
Yes, that's why. I mean, a lot of clients, I've just been, I did another client right now whose husband has passed away, and that's why she's come to me. So she's probably in her 74s, and she's now like, I don't know what is a mutual fund or what is his mutual fund portfolio, but can you just consolidate it for me? So if you go to see, then you remove account statements from various mutual funds and you realize that it is almost everywhere. It's a portfolio that is probably not managed. And women investors, surprisingly, are very sticky and very diligent investors. So today if you explain to them that we are doing this for your retirement and you need this money and you need to increase it by 10% say per annum, they will stick to that goal. They will not be fickle-minded, they will not remove the money, they will not be under any peer pressure. So the other day I had a friend who was working out in the gym, and her friend told her that, I'm getting 20% or 25% in a fund, and that's my retirement planning. So the lady said that, I don't think that's your retirement money then, because wo return milta nahi hai. So she was very grounded, she was at it, she knew ki if I need a safety capital, it has to generate decent sustainable returns.
Right. And we've got questions coming in as well, and I want to take two of them. But I think we've got two interesting points, at least from my point of view. That one is that women have tremendous pressure now to, I think, manage and invest and save for the future, or rather manage, save and invest. One is because they have to think of longer timelines, and secondly, they will outlive their spouses. Okay, so first question is from D. Chatterjee. He or she asks, can I gift a mutual fund to my niece who is a minor?
Yes.
Okay, straight answer. Second question is from Deepika S. She asks, do working women also need to invest? I mean, we've covered this, but let's visit that again.
Definitely.
Yes. That's a big yes, Deepika. I mean, you have to think about how you can, how much you can invest out of your salary, and then talk about savings. It should be the other way around for you. You've started work, you have time on your side.
And I can say that, Deepika, you are only calculating inflation, calculate lifestyle inflation, because your lifestyle is taking one step forward, not backward. So for you need to invest more and more.
So can you put that in numbers?
Yeah, for example, if our inflation is at the rate of 7%, but our lifestyle inflation is at the rate of 12%, you always change your mobile and you upgrade it. You never degrade it. So before 10 years, we used to hear that somebody is going to Kashmir, Simla, but nowadays they are going to Europe, US. So lifestyle changes. So this is lifestyle expenses. Yeah, inflation.
So in fact, if you put it the other way around, investing becomes compulsory. Now again, numbers. Today, if you were your household expenses, like most women know their household expenses. Today, if you know that your household spends, like say 50,000 per month. In probably 10 years time, with a 7% inflation that she said, your household expenses will become 1 lakh a month. In 20 years time, the same household expenses will become double, 2 lakhs. So if you're looking at say a 20-year horizon, today you're 40, and at the end of 20 years, your monthly household expenses 4 lakhs. It is a big number. And if you want to live with that same lifestyle...
So you're saying it will go from 1 lakh to 4 lakhs in 20 years
1 lakh
time.
to 4 lakhs if you look at lifestyle inflation, the actual inflation. See, numbers printed by the government are different, and what you actually buy, fruits, vegetables, and your normal expenses are very different.
Sure.
So that's the lifestyle inflation. So that number actually comes and brings your household expense to 4 lakhs a month. How are you going to manage that? Today we do a lot of insurance policies. I know a lot of households do insurance policies. Jiska maturity value, sum assured, at the end of that term is probably 4 lakhs, 5 lakhs. In 20 years time, when you get that money back, it will be worth your 1 month's groceries. It is not enough. You need to plan for it. Similarly for education. Education is something which gives, as advisors, we get goosebumps when we advise on education, because what happens is, today someone wants to study abroad. The child will, the cost normally comes to 50 lakhs for a child's education abroad.
That's very conservative. Right?
That is conservative.
Yeah.
US is 1 crore. So I want to be a little conservative, sound a little conservative here. But yeah, in US, if it is 1 crore, in 10 years time, if you look at education inflation, which is normally 15%, it will come to say 4 crores in 10 years. So today, if your son is say 15 and at 25 he wants to go abroad, you will have to keep 4 crores with you. And if that time horizon by chance is 20 years, you need 16 crores. Today, for any investor, that kind of money or that kind of corpus to have just for one child's education is huge. So how do you reach those goals? Today, everybody wants, the way lifestyles are running, the costs are running, it's very difficult to stop the younger generation. They want to study abroad, they want to do things, and very difficult to restrict them. How are we going to tell them no tomorrow? We don't have 16 crores. Plan for it from today. It is possible. It's just about meticulous planning.
16 crores still sounds.
It is scary. That's why I said we also find it difficult, but you have to be that disciplined for such difficult goals.
Right. Yeah.
One of my client have 35 years old. She want to plan for retirement, and we have planned 5,000 per month, and she will get nearly 2 crore at her retirement. So one day she asked me that, yeah, Sonal, 2 crore is very less. I want more than 10-15 crores. So I think we are late. So I told her that we are late, might for you, but not for your baby. She is just 3 months old. So we started her investment, and at her retirement, she will get 60 crores.
And at what is the per month?
5,000.
Same. Okay.
Yeah, same amount.
Yeah,
Okay.
but that's the thing. See, even
So that's, you're saying 5,000 per month for
60 years.
60 years. Wow.
But
Okay.
5,000 after 10-15 years, like 500.
Yeah, of course.
So the power of compounding is
Yes,
such.
yeah.
For example, the same example that I gave you earlier, if your household expenses is 50,000 and you want to continue having that same lifestyle post-retirement, you need a corpus of 5 crores. If your lifestyle or your household expenses are 1 lakh per month, you need a 10 crore corpus in 20 years time. So 10 crores to live that 20 years comfortably with the same lifestyle. How are you going to reach there unless you don't start planning now? So why financial planning is required for women? If you give these numbers, then there is no other option but to invest and to...
You think that, I mean, I also get a sense when I have some of these conversations that people do not have a real grip on these numbers.
Yes.
I don't think people ever think that a child's education could cost 4 crores from the 50 to 75 lakhs that people are paying today, because you don't usually think ahead.
Think ahead.
And
that's exactly where we come in. We show them the future. We show them the financial future. That this is exactly what is going to happen in the future. How are you going to meet these expenses? See, today businesses are getting very competitive. Even though you are earning very well and your business is doing very well right now, honestly, 5 years down the line, we don't know whether your business is going to be even relevant.
exist. Exist.
It is so, I mean, the digital age and the transformation, the disruptions are everywhere in every industry, and it's hitting everyone hard. Today, a lot of retailers and business owners actually say we are 50% down because of the way the competition is taking over. So if you know that these changes are going to be there, then why not plan for things that you always need? When you see these numbers, you don't have an option but to plan.
Is that your experience when you show people these kind of numbers and you say that this is what your, I mean, the compounding is the good news,
yeah.
right? If you start investing and steadily it compounds and it could become, I mean, the figure is magical. But on the other hand, how do you convince someone that, you know, this pot of gold is really going to be there at the end of this 30-year wait or 60-year wait?
I think women are the best planners or savers in the world, but they don't know to invest. So the shift from savings to investment, they are already savings.
Yeah.
But in that traditional products, which will give them 8 or 9%, which will not beat the inflation, that will not increase their purchasing power. For example, some woman saving for 10,000 in her cupboard. So after 10 years, 10,000, if she will remove from cupboard, only 10,000 will come out. But if she will invest her money, so it will get 3 or 4 times. So we need to explain them about the savings and investment is a different process. So all women are saving. I think all Indians are saving. I think nowadays the way she told, new generation like kids and teenagers are saving more because they are saving from their pocket money. They know the value of 500 and 1000 rupees in longer term. So we are saving, but we are not investing. We need to tell them to invest and in asset allocation, so different products.
Right.
Not in one product.
Right. So, I mean, we're running to the end of the show. So, let me ask you a slightly larger question, right? So, when you ask someone to invest, that person has to be convinced that there is a future in this country, in this economy, in the markets, in the banks, in the banking system and everything. So, where do you start when you talk to your clients about this? And how do you convince them that, you know, all of this is going to be safe and it's going to grow?
So, I tell them why not to be partner in our economy. So, you are buying branded clothes. You are going to restaurant, you are putting FDs in your banks. Why not to be partner with them? If you are comfortable for FD there, why not to be partner with them? So let's go and be partner and go for equities. So I convince them like go for equities. Now many people has changed their view and they are investing. And the main thing I am telling that you should always have power bank with you. So when you are earning, you keep aside 10% of your income for power bank. So whenever there is no electricity, there is no fund, you always use this investment. So if you have power bank or any other corpus fund, you can always, after 10 years of your job, you can always do something great in your life. If you have back of mind, plan B is ready. So if you have some corpus with you, so you can plan.
Right. Think of a plan B at all times. Okay, Tejas?
For me, I think the biggest hurdle is when I talk to a family together. It's always the male who's handling the finances. He understands everything, and the woman is either not interested or non-participative. My first urge or my first request goes out to all the males in the family. Please let your women, your spouses, your mothers, your daughters get involved in the portfolio review meetings. Just that. You don't need to be a financial wizard to start investing. You really need to be, honestly, I would love it if somebody comes up to me and tells me that I do not understand anything. And I have clients like that who say, you know, you're managing the portfolio, it's all right? So that's all I need to know. They don't understand the technicalities. A lot of men also don't know. But women are always like, you know, I don't know anything. I don't want to get into this. And I really want to request them, get involved. You will manage the job better. You will stick to the investment, be disciplined, and you will take a lot of workload off your spouse's things to do. Another thing is that when you are investing and planning for such a long time, you need a sounding board. You always need someone to, you know, like talk to and to reaffirm your decisions. You have a lot of avenues for that, but reach out. The first problem is in reaching out and taking the first step. Once that step is taken, the journey is very smooth. And in terms of convincing for long-term investments, we generally do portfolio review meetings, say a quarterly. So normally when we say that, you know, for managing your health, you need to go to the gym every day or be on a diet every day. For managing your financial health, all you need to do is just meet us once in a quarter. It's as simple as that. And you don't need to be a financial wizard. We get absolute laymen and we get people who are really pros, but all of them are treated the same way.
And you're saying that, I mean, to the question that I was putting to her as well, that people do not need convincing about their security or the long-term security of...
Honestly, investors have also grown over a period of time. They've become very knowledgeable. We do not need to explain them things that I used to explain them 10, 15 years back. Now they come up to me and ask me that I want a diversified mutual fund or a multi-cap fund.
And because, no, I'm talking specifically about women who you said who are hesitant about taking the step and they've just taken the first step. Because you also have to, if you're telling them that you've not invested at all, but now come out and start investing and think of a 30-year horizon. You've got to think positively about the next 30 years, right?
Yes. So honestly, I feel, you know, things like economy, the international geopolitical conditions are always going to be volatile. They're going to be bubbly. There'll be tensions in international trade, there'll be subprime crisis, or there'll be crash downs in any other sector. What you need to understand is that no matter what has happened over these last 20, 30 years in international finance or in Indian investment or finance history, investments have still grown. So we have stayed afloat out of all these events. There is nothing that's going to take away the same numbers today. India is a growing economy and you just have to keep faith. And that is tell me what option do you have? Real estate is
Yeah, and as Sonal says, become a partner with that growth
Yes,
by participating directly.
and there is
rather
no
than
other asset
only
class. You cannot have a PPF, you cannot have just insurance and say I'm investing.
And
That
now
is-
they also got matured. So whenever
Yeah.
market is down, panic situation is there. My clients asking me, is it the right time to buy? So I told them, you can't win a match with 1 or 2 run. You need to have 4 and 6.
Right.
So 4 and 6 when market is down, buy more.
okay.
So hand holding is something you always.
So last question. So since you talked about market being down and all of that, we are in a phase of uncertainty. Right?
Yeah.
I know that we are talking about long-term mutual fund investments, but we are in a phase of uncertainty right now, which always happens ahead of an election. So what's your advice to people who are watching?
So whenever market is down, there is a fear, go and buy more. Because when you are looking for a 10-year horizon, so for example 15% return, so every year it will not come 15%. Sometime it will come 25%, sometime minus 6%, sometime minus 8%. So whenever there is a fear, market give you discount. So we women are running for shopping to discount. So buy now in discount. So they are buying more and more.
Right.
I think they are now more matured.
Yes,
Yes.
they are definitely more educated and mature than before.
Last word.
So yeah, the same thing that if the markets are down, in fact the markets are negative on a year-on-year basis, and they've been flat for the last 2-3 years. Today, if I have to give the portfolio summary to my clients, it is really sub FD levels returns. 4-5% is the returns
Maybe less than that.
in equity funds.
Yes.
So then how do you hold on to your investors, or how do you tell them to hold on to your investments when you show them that the past returns or the returns that you've experienced now, what is the situation, economic situation or the current situation right now, and how it's going to help you in the future? You have to handhold, you have to bring them back to the table and come back to the goals, revisit your financial goals, and this is the only way to go forward.
So stay invested. Basically, stay invested.
Yes.
Believe in the
Yeah.
long-term future of investing, of mutual funds, and of this country.
Yeah, so if
Yeah.
you're going for PPF for 15 years, you are not going daily to bank and asking, what's my portfolio?
Right.
So
right.
if you are investing for long term, no need to check daily.
Right. And that's a very good note to end on. We've run out of time. So thank you very much for joining me. Well, we've covered a fair bit of ground. I mean, what you as a woman should be doing on Women's Day is to obviously go out, get out of that comfort zone, or that maybe that zone where you were not too sure about where your money would go, and start investing, as my guests have said. Remember that this is a long-term bet. This is a long-term economy. Your money is safe and it will grow. And if you want to achieve the aspirations that you wanted to achieve, this is the best way to do it. Thank you very much.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.